Hello, and welcome back to our next installment of the Ignatius Press Liturgical Living Spotlight. We're continuing this series with one of our wonderful authors, Kendra Tierney, where we're going to unpack and look ahead at the month ahead liturgically, what's going on, give you some ideas and some resources to help you celebrate at home. So welcome back, Kendra.
Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Yes. I know it's pretty early there in California, right?
Yes.
So you got up early to join us. So we thank you so much. We're going to be talking about some ideas from your books, the Catholic All Year Compendium and the Catholic All Year Prayer Companion, as well as talking about some Ignatius Press resources and some resources that you have from your subscription boxes.
Yay. Yeah, November's such a good month.
It is.
For, liturgical living.
A lot going on. And before we hop into November, I just wanted to talk about one feast day that's coming up, one of my favorite feast days, John Paul II. What are you guys going to be doing in your home to celebrate his feast day?
Well, my oldest son is named in honor of Pope John Paul II. We call him Jack, but for the first time, he's out of the house. He's living in an apartment. So we were just brainstorming with the kids what we could do to, send him or something to celebrate his feast day. But we have traditionally our family activity is to go for a hike, do something outside because that was such a big part of his life, and then to have a Polish dinner of Polish sausage and peppers, which is a really easy kind of one pan meal, which is nice. And then if I can manage it, a very complicated dessert called papal cream cake. The cool thing about a modern pope is that we actually know what his actual favorite food was. And I say complicated. I mean, it's for people who are used to cooking. It's really just making a pudding and putting it between layers of puff pastry. So I practiced it to do that recipe that you're holding for the subscription boxes. I must have made 10 or 12 batches of it. My kids were like, okay. At first they were super excited, and they're like, no more papal cream cake, Mom.
I hope you got the recipe right. I can't handle it anymore.
It's been long enough that I think they'll be excited for it again now.
Well, and I know it's like you said, this recipe seems pretty easy. I mean, if you wanted to go hardcore and make your own puff pastry from scratch, but frozen puff pastry is easy to work with.
It's really not that bad. Yeah.
So I love how in these ideas you're sharing with us, there's like complicated, but then there's also easy. There's things you can maybe buy or add on, or there's things you could just do at home for free, like take a walk outside in nature and talk about John Paul II. So again, the different variety of activities, the different amount of prep, I always really appreciate that about your ideas, that you can go complicated or you can go simple. We've never made this in our house, so I think we're going to try it. And I just wanted to say that day in our family, we actually have a birthday and a birthday party. So sometimes if we can't do it on that day, we're just going to move it to Sunday and not sweat the details.
Yes. And the church actually does that. The church moves feast days. It's okay to move feast days.
Yes, exactly. And then another thing that I wanted to bring up is our the subscription Formed, which is in several thousand parishes in the United States. And if your parish has Formed, you should be able to just get on their own parish subscription. My parish has it, so I have the app on my phone. And if your parish doesn't have Formed, it's very affordable. It's kind of like a Catholic Netflix. And one of the movies that's on Formed is this movie about Pope John Paul II, starring Jon Voight. Hope I'm saying his name right. A very well-known, amazing actor, better known to many people as Angelina Jolie's dad, but he is an amazing actor in his own right. And there's this incredible, powerful movie that is in English. I believe it was made for TV, was watched. That's available on Formed.
Yeah, it was. It was in the aughts. I think it came out, and I remember watching it on TV and it being a big sort of cultural deal when it came out. That everybody wanted to see this movie. And Carrie Elwes is from The Princess Bride. So if you're
there you go.
Roberts, and also Christopher Lee, who's like Emperor Palpatine in the Star Wars movies. So
oh my gosh,
your kids will be excited to see.
Right. So I took a look at it last night again. I saw it many years ago, but I haven't seen it recently. So I watched about half of it, and I really got into the story, and I was like, this is something I'm gonna still finish on my own later on, and I'm definitely gonna show it to my kids, because again, there's not just this movie about John Paul II, but there's so many other really well done saints films. So if you have the Form subscription, it's very easy to just look up what is going on that month or that, that week liturgically, and find a movie that goes with it. And I believe that Formed actually sends out also physical and email newsletters to people who subscribe, giving them a peek ahead of what's going on liturgically. So again, I just think films are such an easy, no work, no prep, put on a movie, watch it together. And it's great to have those in our arsenal.
Yeah, I think like you were saying that, what I always say is, whatever you usually do in your family, you can just tweak it to reflect the liturgical year. So if you do family movie nights, which I think are so great for, promoting that family culture, to just have one or two of those a month be associated with the liturgical year is great. And this particular movie, I think it's so great to share things like this with kids, because especially if you have older kids in the house and you talk about, current events, and they can kind of get the sense that, now is such a challenging time. And but it's great to sort of set things in history and have a little bit of perspective. And my goodness, the life that John Paul II lived, what he lived through, really extraordinarily challenging times, and that those times formed him into the great leader and saint that he was.
Absolutely. A movie that inspires but also gives perspective is, I think, a great thing for us in our culture, for sure.
It does for people who are maybe watching with little kids. It's something that I would show to my little kids. It does show the assassination attempt of John Paul II, but there's very little blood. Little blood. It's not.
So I think it's good to give people a heads up that there, it is a thematic movie. There are, there's Nazis, and there's, but again, it's very well done. And I agree. I would let my kids watch it, all of my kids together. But maybe if a kid is more sensitive or you're concerned, a heads up on that. So definitely, I hope that people check out Formed and look at, I believe that you can get a month free trial, but I know, like I said, my parish had Formed and I didn't even realize it. And I went down, I was like, oh, we have Formed. I can get this app on my phone too. So, definitely check with your parish first. So we have a super fun topic that we can discuss, since November and October 31st, Halloween is around the corner. So I wanted to move right into that, because I know you have a lot to say about Halloween and how to celebrate it. So my question to you is, we're just going to jump right in here and say, should Catholics celebrate Halloween? I know this is something that a lot of people wrestle with. What do you guys do? What's your answer to that question?
It is such a hot button topic on Catholic social media, and I just feel like people are coming from the right place in their concern, but it's just not historically accurate. And that if you want to be frustrated with the way that Halloween is celebrated now, I completely support that. But the history of Halloween is Catholic. And I was actually just looking in the compendium back at what I wrote in there, so that I wouldn't contradict myself. But I'm going to go ahead and contradict myself anyway, because I have new information. I talk in the book about that, that the idea of ghosts and sort of the spookier side of Halloween is definitely seated in Catholic tradition of praying for the dead and thinking about the ghosts or spirits. It's that we're really talking about the souls of the dead and praying for them. And I say in the book that, some of the other traditions like trick-or-treating and jack-o'-lanterns and things that, maybe we don't, that those are just like old sort of Celtic traditions. But as I was researching more recipes, I was looking into recipes for soul cakes, which we make. And I found this amazing historical site that talked about how soul cakes are really the basis for Halloween trick-or-treating, because people would bake soul cakes in their homes and exchange, and people would come and knock on the door, and they would give them the soul cake in exchange for the solar's prayers for the deceased loved ones of the household. So
oh wow, okay. I didn't know that either.
How cool would that be?
That's cool.
Well, I love the idea of telling my kids, all right, we're gonna go trick-or-treating, and we're gonna pray for the souls of for the holy souls in purgatory, for all the deceased loved ones of these people who are giving us candy, and that's really sort of the basis of trick-or-treating. And that a jack-o'-lantern would have been, in the old country, would have been a turnip, not a pumpkin, because pumpkins are a New World food, but it would have been a hollowed out turnip with a candle in it, and that the solars would carry them with them to represent a soul trapped in purgatory.
Oh, wow.
That's what the jack-o'-lantern is supposed to be. Right. So, I mean, it really, I think, is an opportunity to reclaim some of our Catholic cultural heritage, and to teach our kids what Halloween really is, and to pray for the souls of the dead, which is so, so important. And there's no reason you can't also eat candy.
Exactly. No, that's just absolutely fascinating. And I think it's so important that we kind of take back where some of these are coming from, in the faith, and not just let the secular culture run with it and kind of twist it into something that it shouldn't be. So for example, one interesting example, you have this banner in the background that was in your subscription box, which what does that say there, Kendra?
Oh, you're gonna make me say Latin. Requiescant in pace, which means may they rest in peace. So you can put up cool, spooky decorations that are super meaningful. So this means rest in peace, and this banner will hang in our house for beginning a little before Halloween and going all through the month of November, so that every time I see it, and every time my family sees it, we're reminded, oh, let's just say a quick prayer for the holy souls in purgatory, because this is really the month that we focus our prayers on our deceased loved ones. And I love the idea of specifically praying and teaching my kids to pray for souls who have no one else to pray for them. What a beautiful thought, right? There's some soul in purgatory that has no one, that everyone has forgotten, and has nobody else to pray for them. And I can be that person who picks that soul and prays for that soul. And if all things work out for the best, we will meet that person in heaven, and imagine how happy we're going to be to see each other. And that this is a real, actual thing that we believe. We believe that our prayers actually help these souls get out of heaven, and we believe that we can meet them in heaven and talk about it. And I mean, what a cool tradition. And
and that's, I think, a perfect example of something that we can kind of take back as Catholics, because when you go out and you look at Halloween decorations, you see the gravestones, you see the RIP, and of course it's focused on, creepy blood and kind of like this twisted in with this like kind of evil occultish, or like just like being just absolutely horrifying. But like, no, actually, like, we need to say, like, the RIP, what it has rooted in is praying for the dead. And that, we don't have to do all the creepy stuff, but we can still have, that message. I used to feel kind of bad, like, oh, should I put out an RIP sign in the front? Like, is this too scary or too like evil? But then once I really understood that and I really claimed it, I was like, no, actually, it really is like, rest in peace. We need to pray for them. And so I really loved this banner. And I just wanted to say that there's some really cool gold foil details on here. The letters
that you have is an actual like 16th century burial shroud that I found an image for online and cleaned it up. Yeah, and it's got gold stamping on the banners. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
I also, when I think about Halloween, I think you've probably been to Rome. Is that right?
I have.
Did you ever go to the church made out of bones?
Yes.
Okay,
I did. It's so cool.
It's the most like it's interesting, because when I was kind of wrestling with this as a new mom, how to do Halloween, I thought of that, because I remember being there and I was like, this is like, you have to go see that when you're in Rome. It's a whole church that the inside is made out of bones, of skeletons, like real people. So it's very strange.
People, actual monks from that
Yes.
order.
Yes.
And they had, there are rules for how the dead are to be looked after, and buildings out of them is not among the approved ways to treat the dead. But this order had specific permission to do this, and the idea is this concept of memento mori, that that Catholics have had a devotion to since at least the medieval era in sculpture, but probably long before that. But this idea that we are each going to die, and if we remember that, if we keep that, somewhere in slightly in the forefront of our thoughts all day long, it's going to help in our decision-making process. If you remember that you're going to die, it informs the decisions that you make every day, how you spend your time, what, whether you're tempted to do a particular thing or not. And so that's why there are, in Europe, why there are skulls and hourglasses and, with wings, because time flies, this idea. And you can see it in the Victorian era also, especially with, during challenging times, World War I and the influenza epidemic afterwards, these images really became prominent again. And now seems like a good time to remember that as well, that we're going to die. And so we should make decisions based on that. And so these decorations that maybe the people who make them and sell them don't get it, but we can reclaim them. We can go and get a cool skull from the party store, and we can put it out, and it can be meaningful for us, and we can teach our kids what it really means, and help change the public perception of it a little bit at a time.
Yep, absolutely. So I think if you're kind of on the fence about celebrating Halloween, it seems to say that from a Catholic perspective, RIP signs, skulls and skeletons have a long-standing tradition. So just something to think about. And I know that, kids, they do kind of like things that are like a little spooky. So like you said, this is your chance to we can still do it. What's the real meaning behind it? So I thank you so much for sharing that.
There's even more ways to sort of stretch it, which I am game for. Things like, vampires drinking blood to gain eternal life. Well, so do we, right?
Right. Yeah.
So these monster stories are, and zombies, their bodies rising from the dead. Well, we believe that also. And these monster stories take the truth and just twist it to be, fun and a spooky story. But if we can get to the heart and explain to, learn for ourselves and explain to our kids, where the heart of these stories really is. And I mean, I've had great discussions with my kids about what why we wouldn't want to be immortal like a vampire, just stuck on earth forever and ever. Wouldn't that be terrible? And that's why, our that the blood that we drink, Jesus Christ's blood in the Eucharist helps us to gain the right eternal life, the eternal life in heaven.
Right.
Oh my God,
absolutely. Yeah, let's definitely. So I got your subscription box.
Yes.
I thought this was the coolest thing. Why don't you tell us about it?
All right. So these are homemade candles that my business partner Emily and I made. They're 100% beeswax, made with pontifical incense. And they smell so good. And the idea is,
that's a surprise. I didn't open it yet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
They smell amazing.
Cool
and the idea is, we always used to just do this with a dollar store jar candle where we'd write the names on it, but I wanted it to be beautiful and smell good. So the idea is, we have these lines, and you can write. We'll write the names of all of our beloved dead on the candle, and then we'll light it at dinner every night all through November, and pray the eternal rest prayer, and really keep our beloved loved ones in our, really mindfully in our thoughts for all of November. And if you want to go a little bit farther, you can do, one of those, a sort of Mexican tradition of putting out photos of loved ones, on your home altar, in order to, to really think about and pray for and pray for the dead.
That is so cool. And also this really cool memento mori pen or marker to write them. So these little touches in your subscription box are so fun. And I know that the boxes are right now sold out. You might be bringing more back, but that the candle and the banner are still on your website to buy individually if people want to check them out.
You can get the banner, you can get the candle, and then the Advent subscription box is going to go on sale soon, and end of this week, I think. And it's so good. I'm so excited for everybody to get it.
That's so great. And I did want to quickly, I know we're getting close to our time here, but just talk about, All Saints Day, November, you have, the Feast of All Saints. And I know, a lot of people dress their kids up as saints, which is just an awesome thing to do. And I know that on your blog, you have a lot of resources if people want to check that out about how to do that, different costume ideas.
Tons of costume ideas, hundreds and hundreds of costume ideas in various blog posts.
That's great. I did want to share at the end for us to talk just for a minute or two about some of my favorite books to talk to kids, and also for our own resources about the saints. This first one, How Saints Die. This is a brand new release. It's really a cool book. It's separated into different categories, but they're just little 1 to 2 page reflections talking about how saints die, which is, what a unique collection.
No, it's really cool. I enjoyed the way that it set out. And again, like I was mentioning with the John Paul II movie, it just gives us some perspective of the times that other people lived in. And if we aren't scared of death, that's like a superpower, right? If you're not scared of death, if you are inspired to live the life that God calls you and to die the death that God has planned for you, then, what is there to be scared of? Nothing.
Right.
And all these different saints who've lived in different circumstances, different times, different places, all have one thing in common, that this radical acceptance of God's will for their lives. And, what a great way to be inspired, especially in November.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's a great resource, for around the year, particularly this month. And then the other one is this really cool collection of saints, which I believe you actually gave this book an endorsement on the back.
Yes.
It's called Saints Becoming an Image of Christ Every Day of the Year. And this came out last year, but I think this is just a great resource. It's in chronological order. I just find it really helpful just to have a little summary about the saints of the day every day in chronological order.
Well, it's in liturgical calendar order.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so liturgical order.
Yes, yeah. But I think it's great, especially, if you want to celebrate sometimes we want to celebrate a feast day that isn't one of the ones on the universal calendar, isn't one of the ones in the Catholic All Year Compendium. And I keep that book just, on our shelf in the dining room, so that if we are talking about that particular saint for the day, there's just there's varying length, but they're pretty short little summaries of the saints to just give you sort of an overview. I think it's great in a classroom or homeschool, or just trying to sort of supplement movies or whatever, coloring pages or whatever you're doing for feast.
And it's nice because obviously some of the saints are like the heavy hitters, the ones, but then the author also put effort into finding saints that were like a little more obscure.
Yes. So
that is, just a great resource to have. I keep it on my bedside table so I can, hopefully the goal is to try to look at it every day since it's just a quick snippet.
Oh yeah, it's a really good resource for that.
Yes, absolutely. And then the last thing I wanted to just talk about was some books for kids. These are our Vision Saints books. And I just pulled out, I know we just had St. Francis and St. Therese's feast day. And then these are 2 of our newer titles, St. Jose and then Louis and Zélie. And basically these are, they're chapter books. They're aimed at ages 9 and up. And there's over 30 in the series. And I actually grew up reading these. So it's a great series, even for adults. If you just want a quick biography that's, easier to read. They're a great resource to have.
Yeah, I grew up reading Sweet Valley High. So these are much better than that. I give these to my kids.
Yes, absolutely. And we are expanding the series. We're actually Kendra, I don't know if you know this, but we are including some more. We obviously have saints, but then a new thing we're doing is some maybe famous, more modern Catholics. So we actually have one coming out in a few weeks about Maria von Trapp. So that'll be in addition to the series. Yes, exactly. And I believe that we have one coming out about J.R.R. Tolkien. So those are, so we're trying to kind of find some devout Catholics. Maybe they're not saints, but they live their faith in the modern world, and they're people that we all know about. So definitely check those out. And one other thing I wanted to mention, you have some new calendars that just came out, right?
Yes. Yeah. They Catholic All Year members are gonna hear about them today and get to order them first. But yeah, the 2022 liturgical year wall calendars are coming out, and they'll be available for everybody by next week. And there are 3 different versions of art. This one is the new one. I'm super excited about it. It has old missal art on it.
Cool.
Which is the same thing that is behind me. I'm a big fan of these beautiful line art illustrations from old versions of the missal that they go out of print, and then who gets to see this art anymore? And it's so beautiful. So
that's great. Well, they can see it on the wall calendar. So definitely people check that out. And I think we're going to wrap it up now, but I just want to give people a heads up. The next time we talk, I believe we're going to be talking about Advent and maybe some Christmas gift ideas. So that should be a fun episode. So stay tuned. And again, thank you so much, Kendra, for joining us, for doing this. It's so fun to talk to you and hear your ideas, and also some resources available.
It's my favorite thing to talk about. So.
Well, that's great. We'll keep doing it then.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.